The rain hammered against my study window as I reached for the filing cabinet. My hand froze midair. The lock was scratched fresh marks, the kind a screwdriver leaves when someone who has no idea what they're doing tries to force it open. I crouched down, my knees protesting after 32 years with the RCMP. The scratches were recent, days old, maybe hours. Slowly, I stood and scanned the room. Nothing dramatic, no overturned furniture, no shattered glass. But after 4 decades in this house on Vancouver Island, I knew every inch of it. The property deed folder sat 3 inches left of where I'd placed it. My retirement papers were shuffled. Someone had gone through my documents, carefully enough to think I wouldn't notice, but not carefully enough for someone trained like me. I felt my heart rate stay steady. Training took over. I pulled out my phone and photographed everything, the scratches, the moved folders, every subtle sign of intrusion. 32 years investigating crime scenes had drilled one rule into me: document first, react later. That evening at dinner, Marcus cleared his throat. The sound cut through the silence like a warning bell. "Dad, I've been thinking. Have you considered updating your will? You know, making sure everything's organized properly." I set down my fork with deliberate care and looked at my son, really looked at him. His eyes flicked to Vanessa, then back to me. "Too quick, why do you ask?" "Just smart planning," he said. "At your age, it's important to have things clear at my age." I let the words hang there. Vanessa leaned forward, smiling warmly, but with a calculated edge. "Robert, we only want what's best. Having proper documentation protects everyone. It prevents confusion later." "Confusion about what exactly?" I asked. "Oh, you know legal matters?" She waved a hand dismissively. "Marcus just worries about you living alone in such a big house." I picked up my water glass, buying myself time. Vanessa's left hand was gripping her napkin too tightly. Marcus couldn't hold my gaze for more than 3 seconds. After decades reading body language in interrogation rooms, I knew guilt when I saw it. The rest of the meal dragged on. Later, I pretended to watch the news while studying their reflections in the window. They sat close together on the couch, whispering. Vanessa touched Marcus's arm. He nodded, glanced toward me, then looked away quickly. That night, I lay awake listening to the rain. My son, the boy I raised alone after Sarah died, the kid I taught to fish in Couch and Lake, the young man I put through UBC, was now sitting in my living room plotting what to have me declared incompetent, to take the lakefront property worth nearly $2 million in today's market. I was up before dawn. The mail sat by the front door. 2 envelopes had been opened and sloppily Canada Post tracking told me 3 letters Mark had delivered never made it to my pile. Someone was intercepting my mail. I photographed everything. Then I stood still in my study and let myself feel it, the rage, the betrayal, the gut-level pain of realizing your own child might be stealing from you. I gave myself 60 seconds. Then I locked it away. Time to investigate. 2 days of planning. 2 days of acting like the oblivious retiree while preparing carefully behind the scenes. On the 3rd morning, I casually dropped it at breakfast. "I'm going camping. 2 weeks up island around Tofina. Need some time to clear my head." Marcus's coffee froze midair. "That's sudden. I'm retired." I said. "No better time." I spread a map across the table. "Going to take the truck up Highway 4. A few campsites. Your mother always wanted this trip. Figure I'll finally do it for her." The emotion in my voice was genuine enough to be believable. Vanessa recovered quickly. "That sounds wonderful. Robert, don't worry about anything here. We'll take care of the house. Don't worry about anything here." The words landed like a confession. That afternoon I loaded the truck, camping gear, tent, cooler, all real items. But beneath them I packed high-grade surveillance equipment requisitioned from old colleagues, night vision binoculars, audio recorders, my old case notebook. As I backed out of the driveway, I watched them in the rearview mirror. The moment they thought I couldn't see them, their faces changed. Marcus slid an arm around Vanessa's waist. They were celebrating. I didn't drive west. I drove 30 kilometers east. The Bayshore Inn was a rundown motel off the highway, the kind of place that took cash and asked no questions. I checked in under an old undercover alias, booked 2 weeks, and waited at dusk. I returned to my neighborhood using side roads only someone who'd patrolled the area for decades would know. I parked 4 blocks away and walked through the mist. The vacant house across from mine had been for sale 8 months. During my morning walks, I'd noticed the lockbox, code old habits die hard. I opened it in the dark and slipped inside. The place smelled abandoned. I found the front bedroom with a perfect view of my house. Every window across the street blazed with light, both cars in the driveway. I set up my surveillance position and lifted the binoculars through my living room window. Marcus paced. Vanessa was on her phone, speaking animate. She was coordinating something. The transformation was complete. I was no longer the target. I was the investigator. And they had no idea. 3 nights revealed patterns. Marcus left at 8:30 every morning. Vanessa shopped Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually gone 2 hours. But it was the visitors that told the real story. On the 4th night, a silver Lexus pulled up at 9:40. A man in his 50s approached the door. Marcus let him in instantly. I photographed the license plate, had a contact run it. Coastal Properties Realty. Derek Chen, commercial real estate agent. Vanessa spread documents across my dining table. A red folder. My red folder. The one taken from my filing cabinet. After 90 minutes, Chen left. His voice drifted across the still night. If the power of attorney is legitimate, we can close by September 15th. Buyers are offering 1.8 million. Power of attorney. Power of attorney. The words hit like punches. Marcus answered. It's legitimate. My father signed it months ago. He's been getting confused lately. The lie sat heavy in my chest. I lowered the binoculars. My hands were steady. This wasn't opportunistic. It was calculated fraud. Back at the motel, sleep wouldn't come. They weren't just stealing my house. They were building a narrative that I was incompetent. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I drove to Victoria to see Dr. Patricia Wang, my physician for 20 years. She looked surprised when I walked in. Robert, I thought you were camping. Change of plans. I sat. Patricia, have you received any requests for my medical records recently? Her expression shifted. How did you know? She pulled a file. Your son requested them about 10 days ago. Said you authorized it for insurance. I didn't release anything. Your signature wasn't on the form. I called your house. Vanessa said you were napping, and that you'd been very forgetful lately. My jaw clenched. Patricia, I need something documented officially. I want it recorded today that I am not experiencing any cognitive decline. Full mental competency. Robert, what's going on? I told her the essentials, the break-in, the intercepted mail, the forged authority. Her face darkened. Elder financial abuse, she said quietly. More common than you'd think. 3 hours of assessments later, I had a notarized medical report confirming full mental competence. That evening, I returned to my surveillance post. Only this time, I wasn't just observing. I was building a case. Photos, recordings, documentation. On the 7th night, footsteps creaked on the porch. I reached for my phone, preparing to explain my presence. The door opened. Dr. Patricia Wang stepped inside, holding a thermos and canvas bag. I've been thinking about what you told me, she said. This isn't just your family anymore. This is a crime, and I'm a witness. Patricia, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Her voice was firm. I've been documenting everything. Dates, calls, Vanessa's comments about your forgetfulness, claims that contradict every interaction I've ever had with you. Something loosened in my chest. For 7 days I'd been alone. Now I wasn't. Why? I whispered. She looked down. Because my mother went through this. Her husband and his daughter tried to declare her incompetent, take her house. I didn't understand what was happening until it was too late. She met my eyes. I won't watch it happen again. We settled into the surveillance position together. At 11:30, Patricia grabbed my arm. Look, a black Range Rover pulled into my driveway. A woman in her late 30s got out carrying a laptop case. Vanessa answered the door instantly. I zoomed in, capturing photos. The meeting lasted until 1 a.m. when the woman left. I ran her plates. Jennifer Hartley, estate planning consultant. But the next morning changed everything. I needed the documents themselves. Thursday morning, Marcus left at 8:27. Vanessa left 45 minutes later for Victoria. 15 minutes after that, I drove to my own house and walked inside like I belonged, because I did. The air smelled like Vanessa's perfume. Wrong, too strong. The guest room had become Marcus's temporary office. The bottom drawer of the desk held the red folder. I opened it. Power of attorney dated July 2nd. My signature except not mine. Close, but wrong. Pressure points, inconsistent. Ink newer than the paper. I photographed everything, then I saw the printed emails. Vanessa and someone named Trevor from Ontario planning everything. Once the sale closes, I'll have my 900,000. Enough to start fresh with you in Toronto. Marcus thinks we're buying a condo here. He has no idea I'm leaving. My stomach turned. Marcus wasn't the mastermind. He was being used, manipulator set up to take the fall. Another email chilled me. This is exactly how it worked with David's family in Montreal. Forge POA, claim the parent is confused, sell the property, disappear before investigation. She'd done this before and succeeded. I photographed every damning line. Then I found the document that froze my blood. Commitment papers for a psychiatric facility. Not filled out yet, but prepared. Ready to use if I resisted. They were willing to institutionalize me. I put everything back exactly as I found it and slipped out the back door. 2 blocks away, in my truck, I finally allowed myself to react. I sat there shaking, not from fear but from rage. Rage at realizing just how carefully they had planned my destruction. Marcus was a fool, manipulated by someone who had done this before, but he was still complicit. He was still willing to betray his own father for money. Back at the motel, I laid everything out. Photos of forged documents, emails proving premeditation, Vanessa's history of elder fraud, the commitment papers they prepared. This wasn't just a family betrayal anymore. This was organized. Patterned crime, and I had a lifetime of law enforcement contacts who would want to know. Call Patricia, I need you to do something. Contact Elder Abuse Response at the Vancouver Island Health Authority. Tell them you have a patient whose family is attempting guardianship fraud. Don't mention my name yet, just start the paper trail. Already done, she said. I filed a report yesterday. Protocol requires it when I suspect abuse. And Robert, you're not alone in this. We're building a case together. The second phase required precision. I contacted James Chen, a state lawyer I'd worked with for years, and laid out the situation in clinical detail. You need a trust, he said immediately. Irrevocable, dated before their forged power of attorney. If the trust predates the forgery, their document is worthless. They can't sell property they don't control. How fast can you do it? I can backdate establishment to June 15th if you swear an affidavit saying you planned this before. Do it by that evening. My lakefront property existed inside an irrevocable living trust, with me as the sole trustee. Their forged July 2nd power of attorney was legally meaningless. I also went to my bank, met with the branch manager, and placed a formal hold on any real estate transactions involving my property. No transfers without me present. Photo ID required. Verbal confirmation recorded. The legal fortress was built. Now I needed one more thing: public exposure. I called my former RCMP supervisor, Inspector Sarah Mitchell. I explained everything, sent her the documents. Jesus, Robert, your own son. There's more, I said. Vanessa has a history. Montreal family. 2 years ago, I found emails about it. I'll reach out to Quebec, she said. If there's a case there, this becomes interprovincial fraud. Bigger charges. Good, but wait until closing day. Let them think they're succeeding. Maximum evidence. Maximum exposure. She was silent for a moment. That's cold. That's justice. I returned home on September 8th, 1 week before the scheduled closing. When I pulled into the driveway, the front curtain twitched. They had seen me return earlier than they expected. I walked to the door like a tired camper, fumbling with my keys. Playing the part I'm back. Camping didn't work out. Marcus appeared from the kitchen, color draining from his face before he forced a smile. Dad, you're home early. Everything okay? Altitude got to me. Headaches. Figured I'd be more comfortable here. Vanessa came down the stairs, voice dripping with fake concern. That's too bad, Robert, but probably smart to come home. We were getting worried. I let uncertainty show on my face. Let them think I was slipping. For the next 5 days, I played the confused old man, forgetful, slow, asking them to repeat simple things, letting them see exactly what they wanted to see. But every conversation was recorded. Every attempt to manufacture evidence. Every lie. Then, on September 12th, Vanessa made her move. Robert, remember those papers from July? The legal documents. You signed them so Marcus could help manage the property. I furrowed my brow. Papers? What papers? Power of attorney forms, remember? You signed them so Marcus could handle things if needed. Of course I had never signed anything. But my confusion, real or not, was the perfect mask. They thought it was memory loss. That night, passing their bedroom, I heard them talking. He doesn't even remember signing, Marcus said, relieved. Perfect, Vanessa replied. If he challenges anything, we cite cognitive decline. I stood in the dark hallway, recording every word. They had no idea. September 15th, closing day. I wore my formal RCMP interview suit, the one I'd worn in court for nearly 30 years. Navy blue. Perfect Windsor knot. Shoes polished. My leather briefcase packed with evidence. Every folder labeled and ready. I walked into the kitchen, running some errands. Be back later, I said. They smiled, relaxed. They thought I was harmless. By 2 p.m. They'd be at Pacific Coast Escrow expecting to walk away with $1.8 million. Instead, they'd face consequences they never imagined. At the escrow office, through the glass walls, I saw them seated, nervous but excited. I checked my watch. 2 o'clock exactly. James Chen stood beside me. Patricia waited behind us. Ready? James asked. I've been ready for 2 months. I opened the conference room door. Silence. Faces drained of color. I walked to the end of the table. Good afternoon. I'm Robert Sullivan, the actual owner of the property you're attempting to purchase. Robert. Vanessa stood. What are you doing here? I ignored her and addressed the escrow officer. Lambert. This transaction cannot proceed. The power of attorney you're relying on is forged, and the property is held in an irrevocable trust that predates their fraudulent document. Marcus tried to speak. I shut him down. Be quiet, Marcus. I opened my briefcase. Folder by folder, I dismantled them. My sworn affidavit that I never signed anything. Patricia's medical evaluation proving full cognitive capacity. Trust documents dated before the forgery. Audio recordings of their conspiracy. Photos of their midnight document theft. Signature analysis proving forgery. Emails between Vanessa and her accomplice planning to steal the money and leave Marcus behind. By the time I finished, the room was silent. Marcus looked shattered. Vanessa's mask had cracked. And then the conference door opened. On Inspector Sarah Mitchell. Vanessa Hartley, you're under arrest for fraud over $5,000. Uttering forged documents. And elder abuse. We're also coordinating with Quebec on charges related to your 2023 fraud case. Vanessa went rigid. I want a lawyer. She turned to Marcus. You're under arrest as well, Dad. Marcus pleaded. I looked at him. The boy I'd raised alone. The man who chose greed over his father. You made your choice, Marcus. I'm not angry you failed. I'm angry you tried. He was handcuffed and taken out. He looked back once. I didn't look away. Weeks passed. Marcus took a plea deal, probation, fines, community service, and his law license under review. Vanessa fought. She lost 3 years in federal prison. 5-year prohibition on estate planning. In December, Marcus sent a long handwritten apology. 6 pages of excuses and regret. I read it once, filed it away, never responded. In January, he asked for a supervised visit. He wanted to apologize in person. I declined. Some betrayals don't heal, not because people can't change, but because trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt. He didn't make a mistake. He made a choice. Now, sitting in my study on a rainy February morning, looking out at the lake, I remember Patricia asking me months ago, was it worth prosecuting your own son? The house is quiet, mine alone, safe, protected, but the point was never the money. It was dignity, agency, the right to defend my own life and property. I lost my son, and that pain will always remain. But I kept something more important, myself. Justice isn't gentle. It doesn't save families. But it's right, and sometimes that has to be enough. An email arrives from Elder Abuse Response. They want me to speak at a workshop for seniors about asset protection to share my story. I type my reply, yes, I'll speak. If my experience can help even one person, it's worth telling. Turning pain into purpose, turning betrayal into protection for others. That's the real victory. The house is quiet, but it's mine. Safe, defended home.